My name is Melissa Catala, and I'm an embryologist. I went to school at Texas State University in San Marcos, and I started out as a medical technician, and started out here as an andrologist. So I worked in andrology, and I did semen analysis and IUIs. And I saw what they did in here and in embryology, and my coworkers saw how, the embryologist here saw how meticulous I was and thought I would be a good fit in here. Asked me if I would be interested, and I said of course, and so I've been in here for about two and a half years now. My favorite part of the job of being an embryologist is just the rewarding aspect of the fact that we're helping people. And I actually have two of my best friends that actually came through the program, and they have two amazing children that I see probably once or twice a week. They decided to come here because they knew someone that came through here, and they saw the reviews online. They did a lot of research. My friend does a lot of research on everything she does. And so she saw how wonderful it was here, so she decided to come through. We have quite a bit of communication with the patients. We have one-on-one communication, and then we also have communication on the phone. We actually talk to them all the way through their cases. We talk to them before a transfer. We actually talk to them before a retrieval and after a retrieval. So we have quite a bit of patient interaction. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of the job, is just the patient interaction and just seeing how excited they are. And I love when they actually bring their kids in, and we actually look at the charts and see, you know, how we had to hand their case and who had a hand in their case, who did the transfers, who did the retrievals, and that kind of thing. So it's really rewarding. So before the transfer, we actually take a picture of the embryo that we are going to transfer into their uterus. And we will actually show them the picture, and a lot of them get very excited. They're like, oh, hopefully this is, you know, the first baby picture. And so it's really neat that we get to give them that opportunity for a first baby picture. So the conversation we have before the transfer is usually just how the grading of the embryo and how the transfer is going to go. Like basically, if they haven't had a transfer before, we go through the process of the transfer so they know what's going to occur, what's expected. I really enjoy egg retrievals because we have a certain number of follicles that we know we're looking for. We know how many eggs are going to be there, and so just to get around that number is really exciting and really rewarding when we get around what we're expecting. So I am very detail oriented, and what we do here, going through training, I was told that I need to triple check everything, quadruple check, and I do that anyway, so that came naturally. And we always have one of the embryologists always looking over our shoulder and checking the patient's names and making sure every single procedure we have someone a second check every single time. So that makes me feel very comfortable, just the fact that that's actually part of our protocol. The embryo transfer process, we actually grow the embryos in our lab, and so this is our finished product, this is our end product, and so it's very satisfying because we've seen it from start to finish, and now it's actually being transferred into the patient. So at the beginning of the embryo transfer, we go next door to the OR and we check the patient's name, and we have a timeout in the lab, and just to make sure that we have the right patient with the right embryo. We come back in the lab and we have our embryo, we take the embryo out of the incubator, and it has the patient's name etched on the bottom of the dish, and we put it on the microscope, and we have an embryologist actually check and make sure that we are transferring the correct embryo. And we place that embryo into embryo transfer media, and once we do that, there's actually the name on the transfer dish as well. And our microscope is hooked up to a camera that is also feeding into the OR where the patient is, with usually, sometimes there's family in there, sometimes it's their spouse is in there, so they all get to watch it. And there's a large TV in there, so they get to see everything that we're doing, which is really exciting for them. Some of them actually take pictures and stuff like that. It's really neat. And so the first thing we do, we show the patient's name so they know we're showing the correct, or transferring the correct embryo. And we show, we focus in on the embryo that we're transferring, which we've already given them a picture of that embryo. And we focus in on it, have them have a really good look at the embryo. And then we focus out and we pick that embryo up in a catheter. We walk that catheter next door into the OR, and we hand that catheter off to the physician, who then passes the catheter through the cervix and injects the embryo into the uterus. They hand it back to us, come back next door into the lab, and flush out the catheter just to make sure that the embryo isn't retained. And we look through the dish really well, make sure the embryo is where it needs to be, put up an all clear sign, and we know it's all good to go. We go through all these extra steps for an embryo transfer because we want the patient to feel like they're part of this, that it's not just like, we're just taking embryo and putting it inside. And we want them to know that we're involved, and, here's a great picture of, what is hopefully going to be your baby, and so it's a great way to connect to the patient. The other reason that we do the checks and balances for embryo transfers is we want to make absolutely sure that we're putting the correct embryo in the correct patient.